And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Goodness gracious, you guys. If you just got done watching this, there's a reason why we had a reaction like video in the early morning time to prepare you guys for what you guys saw. Because we're going to go full on, go in deep with this because episode 5, bar none, is probably one of the craziest things that this show has ever done. And if you guys are reactors or you watch reactors, this is the time to watch reactors. We only regret that we did not do a reaction. But we're gonna go deep. Right here, I have my host. What's going on, you guys?
Hi.
We are missing one, and that is Jarrell. Jarrell, we miss you. It's been 2 episodes. Please come back.
I know the anxiety was too much this episode. I know it was overwhelming. But come, this is a safe space, man. You can come back. You can come back.
I know, right?
It's fine. It's gonna be okay. We're all gonna be okay. But no. So episode 5, coming off of episode 4, the very last thing we saw Rue, like she had a moment. And she, I thought she overdosed, and I guess she did not, but she had a connection, an actual moment where she, felt her dad again. And yet she was also at the church. And yet it was like she was falling. We knew she was falling. We didn't know what that descent would look like. And we had no idea that it would immediately start off this quickly. So at this scene right here, it just proceeded from that point to escalate to Rue's like, where are my drugs? And she first was starting off talking to her sister because she said, why'd you tell mom? Why'd you tell mom? Sister's like, I ain't telling nothing. And like, she was just all up in her face, and it was about to be a fight. Like, it was bad. And I was just curious from you guys, because this didn't have any kind of, not necessarily like filler, but it didn't have any buffer. You know what I'm saying? Like, normally, like, we get something like a recap or something like it just went straight on. And it just throws you off. How did you guys feel about just how it threw you into the episode personally?
I think it was more visceral this way. It really amped up the anxiety and you were in it. So it wasn't like some montage, at least from what we've seen. There wasn't like a montage like they usually do, and no backstory, no nothing. They just went straight in. And they had to, because what happened, like, you had to see that from beginning to end. Like, you couldn't have a montage or a backstory. No, you had to go straight into the action and see what Rue, the downward spiral of Rue. My anxiety was up the entire episode, okay? I felt like I needed something after watching that. Like, I was clutching my robe. Like, I needed my cat. Like, I just needed something after watching this episode. The acting was so good. And someone's business got laid out this episode, finally.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. We definitely got to talk about that. And what did you feel about the visceral reaction of just how it threw you in?
Man, I wasn't ready. It was like you're getting punched and you weren't ready for it. You even know there was any kind of drama, any kind of beef cut, like just this a little, we'll talk to him. No, they switched right in. And I was not ready. And I think after that first punch of the scene, I pretty much held my breath pretty much through the whole episode. And I was doing the same thing. I had a cardigan on. I was rapping it. I kept rapping it like this, like this. Like, oh no, baby girl, no, it's okay. Oh no, don't go there. And I like how this episode is almost like, where was rock bottom? Because we thought we hit rock bottom at some point, but it was like, no, there are more levels. There are more levels to hit. All right, are we done? Oh no. And like I said, they went in, and it was just, I wish I actually watched it a second time, because getting hit with so much emotion and that great acting, I think the second time I watch it, I'm going to be really interested in how they filmed it, because some of the takes and scenes and angles, the first time I watched were just amazing. And you felt how terrifying a situation like this can be for a family, right? And for someone you love, and how would you feel if this is your loved one doing what Rue is doing? And it was also cool to see not cool, but like it was interesting to see how Rue explained how she was going to implement this plan they've caught of how it's just weed and da 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 and shift all this blame and deflection, and she went right into it without skipping a beat. I just told you it was just some weed. I should have told you ish and da 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 and then and when that plan fell apart, she saw how we all know this is bull. We all know this is bull. Don't even So I mean, this is how you do long form storytelling in a season. Right. Everything pays off.
Yeah, so there was one thing I wanted to kind of bring to you guys' attention, but I thought about it while and you, Nat, were talking about it, is the fact that normally Rue spins the narrative because she's the narrator. Like, it's always from her perspective, right? In this episode, she was not narrating anything. She, like, the normally there's like kind of like a veil. It's like, okay, it's kind of like plot armor. You know what I'm saying? Like, you kind of like, oh, okay, this is from her perspective. Like, she's alive. It's going to be okay. But this the entire time, it wasn't her talking to herself or talking her way through it. She couldn't. Like, she was completely vulnerable. And this was the first time that we kind of see her fully just be completely destructive. Like, she not only is alienating everybody, but she is trying her best to get out of this situation by any means necessary and get back to her drugs. And it was kind of like a precursor because we saw, you know, what she did to Ali. We saw what she said to Jules in the car. But in this episode, bro, like, I got to talk about the body count that Rue left down, bro. I got to talk about the body count. So, like, not only did she threaten, you know, she kicked down the door of her sister's room to her mom trying to protect her own other daughter because she didn't know what Rue was going to do. To the point that the mom was like, she didn't tell me, Jules did. And like, boy, like the acting on Z killed that scene, bro, because she walked out of there and she looked and she found Jules sitting there. She saw my man Elliot. Elliot was just like, and she went off on this girl, bro. Like, she murdered her emotionally. And it was like, it started off with them two. And she was like, she kind of ran off or whatever. And then, I mean, she went from door to door, just taking names, bro. Like, she went to, I forgot how she got to Lexi and Cassie's house, but I think she was running and she ended up at their house trying to get back. And she basically exposed Cassie's secret. She made her way to your boy, man, poor Fez. Made her way to Fez's house, disrespected him in his own house, tried to steal from his grandmother, and then had the nerve to get to the drug dealer kingpin woman in her house. And that's before breaking into somebody else's house and running from the cops. And so it's like Rue's body count was insane this episode. Like, the things that happened this episode, like I say it and it sounds crazy, just repeating everything that went down. And I was a abridged version of it. But what was your guys' craziest moment that you guys, I mean, maybe you didn't anticipate any of it happen, but like the roller coaster of just destruction. How did you guys feel about that? And then what was the thing you felt like, oh wow, this could easily end in somebody's death this episode? I was curious y'all perspective on those two questions.
I kept expecting her to get hit by a car.
Yes. Yes.
The car scenes this season have been ridiculous with the tension. You're thinking someone's going to get in a car accident. You're thinking someone's going to die from a car accident. Just something revolving a car. Cal last week with the daggone car, with him driving crazy with his head injury, and almost potentially getting into a situation with Elliot, Rue, and Jules because they were in the car drunk. Like, it was just, and now she's running off, running in the middle of the street in traffic, not once, but twice, because she was running away from the cops. I'm just, that, oh my gosh. And then she managed to escape from Lauren's place because she had that house on lock. Okay, lock. This whole episode was crazy. But when Cassie's ish was laid out, and Maddie, I'm kind of glad they didn't focus on them because this was Rue's episode. Nate wasn't in it at all, but he was mentioned.
Right.
So this was, I think, definitely from Rue's perspective, even though there was like a few seconds of scene with Gia packing to put her clothes in the car and the hoodie, because I think that's their dad's hoodie.
Yeah.
So I thought that pause there was interesting. And Gia, oh my gosh.
That poor girl.
Storm's performance this episode, and I felt I was definitely in her corner the entire episode. Like, I wanted to hug her because I felt like she wasn't getting that attention that she needed, even though her mom was protecting her initially when Rue was going ham. But just, I feel for her. I definitely feel for her.
Yeah. I don't know why she had the sister go in the car with them, because I was like, this could end up so bad really quickly. And
she probably needed emotional support. That's probably because she's using her daughter, and her daughter shouldn't be put in that role. But the mom, you can tell, is drained. Like, she's just drained. She has no support with this. It's a lot. But I'll stop. I interrupted you.
No. Go ahead. Keep going, because it's your turn next anyway.
So just from the beginning, the first scene, I know we went over a lot of stuff, but how she pulled out every trick of the bag, and some things she's like, "Mom, I just missed Dad. I know, baby." And that's when she got around to hooked her a little bit more. "Mom, where's the drugs? Mom, where's the drugs?" Like went from threats to let me leave to all this stuff. And there's different layers of anxiety in that first scene because she's going with the withdrawal. Plus, we all know she owes $10,000. Right. And I know when we were watching, I kept saying, "Please tell me y'all weren't dumb enough to throw these drugs away. Please tell me you weren't dumb." Because we all knew they should throw them away, right? We all knew that was where they were going. She threw them away. Right. But I'm like, why? Right. Where did you think your daughter got this many drugs from?
It's like, Elliot, you know better, dog. You know better, Elliot.
And as I said before, it's a shame that I'm talking about Elliot and Fez. Like, please let these people, let this man do drugs in peace. Let that other man sell drugs in peace. Like, you guys are bringing so much drama to these. And I feel bad for saying that. Let that young man do his drugs peacefully, and yet that other young man sell his drugs peacefully. Because this is a lot that they didn't even. And you tell Elliot is like, "This is not my life, bro. I don't have this much drama."
Right. It was stressing him out. He was bad.
Yeah, he was like, I should have said nothing. I should have just.
Okay, go ahead.
He heard Sam. Sam with Jiminy Cricket on his conscience. Like, "Don't you do this without telling that girl the truth." And he's like, "You know what, Jiminy Cricket, Sam? You right. Hey, hold up, Jules. It's gonna be all right, Jiminy Cricket, Sam." Sam like, "Yeah, it's gonna be all right, pal."
Oh my God.
I was a little bit frustrated though, because I understood why Rue, other than the drug part, that was definitely probably, I want to say 80% of it. But the other 20% of why she was going crazy about the drugs is because she knows she got that from a drug dealer. So Jules, I feel like, has an idea that Fez is at least a drug dealer. So, and the fact that Rue, this whole suitcase is full of drugs, where would she have gotten the drugs? She couldn't have gotten it just from anybody. So why would you drain it? And I get it. But that was too much money's worth of drugs for it to for her to, she wasn't collecting that much drugs to get that much in the suitcase.
So I was frustrated with her for that, right? Because, all right, give it to mom. Mom's reactionary. I'm gonna get these drugs away from my kid. Jules is a little bit of a Jules got a little Karen energy every once in a while, so she probably didn't think about this outside of what she wanted to do to be as it involved her, right? Right. But if anybody should have known, it should have been Elliot. Elliot should be like, "Wait, ma'am, excuse me. No disrespect. Somebody coming for that money or them drugs."
Right.
Right.
I just don't know if he was there initially when they were doing it, or did he arrive after the fact and he just happened to be around there at the same time that they were having their conversation and everything was going ham. I just don't know when he actually arrived there.
But if he wasn't with her when she told her that, if he wasn't with Jules when she told her mom, there's another part for him to be here. There's no way Elliot showed up for the intervention.
Right.
He might get trapped in the stain.
In fact, it probably would have been better if he had taken the drugs. Yes, I get it. He's also a drug addict, but it would have been better, safer with him, because then at least it could have been like, okay, how did she get the drugs?
Yeah.
Let's turn it
and
just in case. So I just,
right.
and
Yeah.
Lauren
And again,
knows her last name. I don't know how many Bennetts live in the neighborhood, but the neighborhood is not that big.
Not at all.
and people, we are not advocating to sell drugs or anything like that.
No.
We are saying that this, you, or even downplaying how much of distress and crisis Rue is in. But you can always take Rue to rehab. You can always, you can get her help. Y'all can deal with this situation, but owing a criminal organization money, $10,000 in money, who have threatened to throw her in sick, that's a whole level of anxiety that had me, was always in the back of my head through this episode. So then we transitioned to her going, all right, I can't get these drugs. I almost thought that she was going to use rehab or the hospital as a safe spot to think, right? Mm-hmm. And then mom lied to get her in the car. Instead of going to the ER, what she told her, she said, we're going to
rehab.
Rehab.
You shouldn't have told her that.
I don't know. And if you're going to tell her that in the car, why not use the childproof lock? Like,
right, I was like, what are you doing?
Again, yeah. At this point, mom, this is not the first time you've done this. You cannot tell me nowhere in your mind. And I thought maybe that was the reason why, because I thought her sister was in the front seat, right? That's what I thought was going on. And I was like, all right, because nope. No, because I thought she was going to break the window because Rue had that crackhead super strength going on this time. What's that Dave Chappelle character? The crack. She had
Tyrone
that
going on.
Tyrone. She had the skinny Tyrone. Z had that skinny Tyrone energy. So if she had like popped the window and like,
her stamina was definitely on something this episode with all the running that she was doing.
Bro,
like girl,
somebody with asthma,
right? Exactly.
And
she was limping. She was limping and she was still running.
Right. And so when she left there and went to, because this is all, wherever Rue traveled, this episode was all collateral damage. Everybody in her vicinity was correct. She left a trail of collateral damage.
Everywhere.
Then, can I use your bathroom? Can I use your bathroom?
Well,
and
I was gonna say first she went to Fez, then she went to Cassie and Lexi, then she went back to Fez, and that's when she, happened to run into the couple and she robbed them, and then she went to Lauren. Go ahead, continue.
First, he wasn't there, right?
He wasn't there.
First, he wasn't there.
Yeah. So she was looking for drugs, went to Fez, knocking on the door, and we all know they had got some other stuff they had to deal with. And so she leaves again, and then she goes and knocks on Cassie and what's Cassie's sister's name? Lex's door, and their mom is just messing with her. Like at this point, I'm convinced their mom was trolling her because you could tell she had to go to the bathroom real bad because that's how she was acting. She was like almost holding her backside, like I and she's like, oh, so how long you been? So you still staying clean? Yes, ma'am. While she's sweating and looking like crap, it's like, oh, how long has it been now, dear? Yes, but can I use your bathroom? Yeah, how long has it been? Like, since summer, like, and then let her go. It's like, no, that girl ain't right.
Right.
And dip in the bathroom, dip out, start going through the medicine cabinet. Oh no, she went through the drawers. Did she go through the medicine cabinets?
She did go through the medicine cabinets, and I don't think she found anything because by the time she came back out, then the mom, sister, and everybody was right there. But before we even get to there, because we gotta address this because it's gonna play a role later on. We were talking while we were watching episodes, like, why don't Rue just explain it to her mom? And I was like, even if she explained it, it would sound like the ravings of a desperate girl just trying to get drugs. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I don't think her mom would have had a clear enough conscience to trust what Rue said, even if it was probably true. But the thing about it is about the drugs is that Elliot definitely was there. And I think Elliot helped out with flushing them, but it doesn't compute. It doesn't make sense because, like you said, Jules probably doesn't really know any better. The sister don't know any better. The mom don't know any better. But Elliot knows better. He knows how would this girl get this amount of drugs? You know what I'm saying? Like it's not conceivable. So that reality, I don't know what's going to happen with that because this is not something that's just going to be, because we're going to have to talk about her even going back to the woman that he
Yeah.
She got the drugs
So-
from. We'll get to that in a second, but I just want to say to you guys, like, when they did say they flushed the drugs, do you think that Rue at that point was like trying to get drugs to get back to the woman and get, steal or get money from Fez to give back to the woman? Or do you think she just really wanted drugs because she still just was addicted at this point? Or a combination of the three? I was curious real quick before we got into
I feel like it's probably a combination, but I definitely more so that she needed, because she was starting to withdraw. You could tell, like, just from her body language and just how she was feeling, that she was definitely like withdrawing or going through withdrawals. But a part of that was definitely, she knew she could. That's why she went inside the couple's house and started robbing them, not only because she needed drugs and to find if they had any, but because she knew she owed this chick back from the drugs that she had, and they flushed down the toilet. Right. So it was a combination. She actually did at Cassie and Lexi's house steal a pair of earrings. I did notice that at the second, when we rewatched it this few hours ago. So I was like, oh, because she didn't find anything worth taking to replenish herself, so to speak. Yeah. I guess the medication was just, it wasn't something that she could work with.
Yeah, but I guess getting back to what Ant was going to is that the moment that Rue brought up what happened with Cassie and Nate, do you guys think that she just intentionally did that so she could get away and she didn't care what kind of damage that would cause, just like everything else in this episode? Or she honestly wanted to get the truth out there? I personally feel like she did that intentionally to get out of there. She's like, well, this is going to cause a problem, so I'm going to slip out. I'm just curious y'all's perspective on it.
So I think that we're dealing with her different levels of survival mode in this whole episode. So one, she's in physical pain and discomfort and hurting. And she knows she has this bigger problem of the 10 grand that she owes, but she also can't think straight at this moment. And so until she can get her drugs to think right, to think of how to get out the situation or to fix the situation. So I think there's just higher levels of need, right? She knows, because it's always there. Because honestly, you're in a major metropolis. You get $10,000 and a bunch of another $1,000 in jewelry. You could have got drugs, but but instead of doing that, she went right to the woman, and where she could have maybe got a little fix, but also like smooth things over, right? I think that one, she's in pain, so she's lashing out, and she's really smart at finding what everybody's like key cracks, the flaws, the weaknesses are. And so she's getting finding that little shatter point in everybody's social situation, and she's smart enough to do it. So I think one, she's lashing out and then taking advantage of the chaos. So I think part of it's lashing out, but also being smart enough to take advantage of, because as soon as the chaos, because she knew Maddie, she knew Cassie, she knew Ma, and as soon as everybody exploded, she slipped right on past, them, and so yeah, and apparently he's a safecracker too. I did not get that. I don't know where that skill came from, but. Was she just dialing the most common?
She was just dialing the most common numbers. Most people don't put in a good number anyway. They like 00000. I think Matt had that. What it was.
It was all ones. It was all zeros or all ones. I think it was all ones. I'm like, dang, y'all, really?
Yeah. People don't think
y'all ain't even put at least your birthday.
Right.
Dang.
Right. Something else though, but at least that's some random person can't just come up with it.
I'm like all ones. I'm like, dang, y'all asked to get robbed. Seriously.
So she blew up their friend circle. Maddie's going crazy. And like first Maddie just wants to get all the information, but she's getting closer and closer to just run up, and I think she chases Cassie up the stairs at one point, right? Mm-hmm. Even to the point that the moms was like, y'all need to deal with this another time.
Yeah.
We got this, but then it just exploded. She robs and terrifies a couple, right? In the middle of their
that's why they found her underneath the bed, right?
Yeah, and dude freaked out, and I'm like, I was looking at somebody else, like, man, a grown man running from this little skinny guy. Like, I don't know what's under that. Right. If you just look out of the bed, and you see a face. I remember when my daughter was really young, and and she's a very pale complexion with really dark eyes, and I came in the house like really late, and I went up the steps, and I checked on the room, and I saw she was in there, and when you lay down in the bed, you kind of go. I did that, and I turn, I just see this white, pale face. You thought I was sleeping, but I wasn't. And then she like just lowers. Freaked me the hell out. That's what I kept thinking about that scene. But again, all you see is their face under the bed. I'm like, I don't get the gun. He said, get the gun.
Right. I mean, but she looks cracked out, bro. Like, I think right after that, she was walking down the street. She couldn't even keep her composure, bro. And like the cop was like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "Yeah." And she just proceeds to throw up and hobble her little way out. And like she doesn't look well. Like she legit, like the way the makeup design and also Z's performance in general, like it's so much that she had to do in this. Because it's not just like hitting all the emotional beats. Like that's a lot of physicality that she's doing, and muscle memory. And I was just really impressed what they did with her in this episode, man.
They used her. She was really, you know, certain people like Gal Gadot's really good at this. I guess maybe because she was a model. She's really good at presenting her body a certain way and doing certain angles and kind of, I don't know what you would call it, but she used her. In this episode, they kept even keeping the limp pretty consistent
the whole time.
The way she falls, where she moves, how she climbs stuff. I know there was some mixture of stunt people in there too, but when you actually saw it with her, it was amazing. Like everything that scene. And all right, shout out also to the most dedicated cops that I've ever seen chase a crackhead. That must be like a really good neighborhood.
Well, I think they also weren't they around the neighborhood where she robbed the house. So I think they may have already gotten a call in. So
they probably did.
But they didn't get the call yet. The cops had just stopped, just saw her that she was acting weird. Remember the first cops just stopped.
Right.
And,
that's right.
And she was acting weird. And they're like, hey, you good? She's like, what? And they're like, oh, crackhead. Your blog, you crackhead. Go. I know I keep saying crackhead. I don't know if she's crack, but I'm called crackhead. And how does twig of a girl with a lip outrun y'all? This is y'all job.
Bruh.
This is y'all.
Okay,
man, this is her job too.
Can we talk about the dogs? First off, she managed to sweet talk the one dog where she robbed the place. So that's not a good guard dog.
That was terrible. One. Yeah.
Then she ran into another Rottweiler. No, not a Rottweiler. It was a Doberman Pinscher.
Wasn't it? Oh, okay.
I think it was Doberman. Yeah. In like a car garage or something. She should have just stayed there. But okay, she went.
Yeah, she could have stayed in the bed of that truck for sure.
Yeah, the bed of the truck. The cops were leaving.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So then, she ran into while she was running, there was a one where it was she running past a pool. There were two Pomeranians chasing her. I cracked up. I was like, that's a dog.
Dog, them dogs
I just cracked up each and every time I saw a dog in this episode. I'm like, she just running into dogs all over the place.
That first dog is going to the pound if that's my house. You got one job. You were too nice. You got one job. I do think if she ran, that dog was going to tear her up. That first dog,
I believe so too. She was smart enough
to tear up, but he must be like, oh, you must be a guest. I ain't gonna bite a guest, but all right, you at the real calm. I'm real calm.
Right.
Them junkyard dogs though, I don't know if it was a junkyard, but them junkyard dogs though, they were not.
Oh yeah, the junkyard would have been when it played.
Yeah, she
but you can tell when I and maybe because the owners weren't there, I think it probably would have been different if the owners were there. Because I still think dogs can sense when you're really a threat. And she was robbing. Yes, it was wrong. But as far as malicious, murdering, kind of I want to harm someone, no. So that's why I think the dog kind of was okay, you cool.
Right.
Yeah. But the junkyard dogs is anybody can get it. The cops can get it. You can get it. Anybody can get it. Come across this fence. And the Pomeranians is you can get it too.
This girl was doing parkour moves, falling into cactuses, jumping over fences, and I'm like,
how many times did she fall? And look like she should have broke something?
I mean, but I think it goes back to what you said, and it's her levels of survival. Because we know this girl, she had a problem riding her bike to try to catch up to Jules. You know what I'm saying? She's dealing with asthma, she's dealing with physicality issues, but this episode. She jumped out of a 2-story window. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the girl, she had no limitations, and I think that when your body is literally trying to eat itself and she's mentally trying to completely do whatever she can to do what she's got to do, but physically her body is like starving. The desperation is where I guess all this is. I don't know if it'll be adrenaline or if it's drugs or if a combination of the three, but like her survival is all that she cared about. Because, you know, I gotta bring up my man here because how she did him, man. How you gonna do this to this man, bro? She goes up.
That's the kindest man in this series. That's the kindest man in this series.
He really is. So she goes and knocks on Fez's door. He's like, "You all right?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm cool, man." I can't remember what she said, but some kind of way, you know, he kept his guard down. And like, I think that Ashtray was chilling, eating some food, looking at TV. And some kind of way she ended up in the back. And Faye wasn't in this during that time. For whatever reason, she wasn't in the house during that time. But she made her way back to the grandma's room. And we know since season 1, and of course the beginning episode of season 2 as well, you know, how much, you know, his grandmother meets him. Like he's always, whenever he's home, he's attending to her. You know what I'm saying? And like she decides to take her, like his grandmother's drugs. And Fez was like, "Nah, bro, this ain't about to happen, Rue. Like, this disrespectful." And he had to drag her tail out of his own home, bro. How did y'all feel about that scene and just what that meant for their relationship, honestly? Because he treated her like family. Like he looks at her like family.
I was nervous for her, right? Because we've only seen Fez really kirk out once, right?
Right.
And that was when somebody like just broke the rules of the game type of thing to him, right?
Right.
And but also I liked how Fez picked up like that bathroom thing might be working for everybody else, but I this is my business. This is my business, Rue.
Right.
I know you're just trying to slip someplace else. And I see he's like, nah. He was calm because you know that call, it was just a respect. Look, I never judged you. I never, you know, I treated you like family. I never, you know, whatever. Right. But you crossed the line. You got it. You got to go.
Right.
You got to go. And she tried to argue he had to physically take her out. And you know he could have done it a little, but she like, when you have somebody that's smaller than you, like push you with their whole body, and you go back, you feel a little type of way.
Right.
like, because you know she put her whole body into it, and she got Tyrone straight, and he's like, oh no. He hit that wall hard, and he's like, "Gotta go." And even Ashley like, "What's going on?" Like, you usually Ashley on top of this stuff,
right? And, Ashley's trying to stay out of that. He was like, "Oh man,
yeah, no, I ain't in the middle of this." And when he had to physically throw her out. Like, you gotta go. Like, man, that's a nice man right there. That's because one, you mess with his grandma, disrespected his grandma, disrespected his house, disrespected his friendship, put your hands on him, and you know, because. If he had kirked out, we wouldn't have blamed him. If he had kirked out, we would not have blamed him. We'd be like, she pushed him. Not advocating violence, but I'm saying we would have like, I understand type of stuff.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he is a drug dealer.
Gotta go. He is a drug dealer. Gotta go.
It was sad because I mean they've been through so much, especially when he vouched for her like in the first episode, like the opener of the season. But he's seen her kirk out before last season when she tried to beg him for drugs. Yep. But it's kind of like she's took it a step further this time. So that's and I'm glad he showed restraint as much as he could in kicking her out. And it was just unfortunate because at least if he had a stash at his crib, she wouldn't have had to go to homegirl Lauren. I think that's her name. But he doesn't keep his stash there anymore because of what happened last season. So,
Crack commandments.
Ripple effect.
Yeah, because if she was really thinking, as opposed to trying to get drugs, if she would have been like, "Look, bro, my mom found the freaking drugs. She flushed them down the toilet. I am in trouble. And do you have money so I can give back to this woman because I took the money?" Like. If she would have even presented it like that, he would at least try to be like, "Okay, I need some time to think about this. You messed up, Rue, but I'm gonna think about it." I think he would have tried to at least think about it or process it. She wasn't thinking like that. She was like, "I need drugs. I need drugs."
I think if he tried to hand Rue $10,000 ashtray would have knocked it out of his hand and smacked her. Like, I don't think Ash is gonna let him give $10,000 to Rue. I don't think that's gonna happen. But I mean, like, damn, Rue, you done stole. She sold to a crackhead, Rue. You a crackhead, Rue. Damn, Rue. Man, here's a bus ticket, Rue. I see you next life, Rue. Yo, by the way, thanks for introducing me to Lex, Rue. I think that's an, because he ain't gonna give it no 10 grand.
Yeah, I don't think he would give it to her, but I think that he would be kind enough in his heart to be like, all right, look, we need to give this money back to this woman some kind of way. So I'm gonna give her a share of faith, try to explain whatever. I think that he would have tried to at least be on her side, but the way she came about it, now she don't have any kind of support. And I mean, the way the episode ends, anyway, we'll get to there because we haven't even got to the last part yet. When it comes to what Rue does next, which is pure desperation, she goes back to the source. She goes back to the drug dealer woman, the kingpin, and goes to her house and basically all messed up, tells her everything. And what did you guys think was going to happen? And when this happened, when she went to the woman's house, what did you guys think was that going to be the outcome? And do you feel like the episode was kind of like forgiving for Rue in the way that it ended? Or do you think it's almost like a setup? It's like a Glenn situation. You know how like in Walking Dead, Glenn, you know, he ended up not getting eaten or killed because he was hiding under a trash can. But later on, he gets his head bashed in. Spoiler for anybody who hasn't seen The Walking Dead. Do you guys think that they let Rue off easy now for something to come later? And what did you guys initially think was going to happen the moment that she walked in this woman's house?
I wasn't sure what I was expecting, to be quite frank. I was concerned, very concerned. But the fact that, you know, she had everything on lock and she had so many animals like birds, like I feel like she could have trained these birds to like alert her when she had someone at the house that's trying to escape. I don't know. But maybe she hasn't really had someone she had to keep in order to sell them. I don't know. But she still managed to escape. I did think it was interesting that we kind of like got a lesson about drugs and how it reduces you know, the feeling that, or the chemical that you get for happiness as you continue to use. I didn't even realize that. I was like, oh, I got a lesson. Okay. Right. And the fact that she opened up about her being, you know, addicted at one point because she was an athlete or something. I don't know how true that was, but it kind of like, Rue wasn't really listening, but I was paying attention because I didn't know what to expect from her. But right. She was like, oh, I don't have any pills. But then she brought out the bag. She brought the morphine out, but I could have sworn I saw some pills in there. So I'm like, okay. Were you expecting the morphine to knock her out just long enough for y'all to do what y'all needed to do? Like what? It was just a very interesting scene. And it was very intense because again, she was Rue was trying to leave and homeboy woke up, the one that dragged her to the bathroom in the first place in the season opener. I'm just like, what's gonna happen? She should not have been able to escape. I'm sorry. She should have still been there. And how did she get her keys? But she changed clothes. So how did she get her keys in order to go back home?
Well, I thought the last time she snuck into her house the last time through the window. So she finds a way. The girl finds.
I think that we just seen Rue jump into traffic twice, cause a multi-car crash up the second time, run for police.
That scene
in my
crazy.
Youth, yeah. In my youth, I had to run for police, and I know how that adrenaline make you jump off of stuff you don't think you can actually make it. I've had to do that before. And somehow that adrenaline is pumped, and you make it. But the most heart-stopping moment is when we realized she went back to that woman's house. And that woman, remember Snoop from The Wire, how she was just calm all the time? It was kind of like terrifying. That's how this woman, because she was matter of fact. She was just matter of fact about everything, and started lecturing her about it. And when Rue gave her like the she said, well, this is like $1,000 of jewelry. Here's $2,000 in cash. And the woman was like, I mean, I appreciate the effort, but this ain't 10, Rue. You gotta come up with it all. It all gotta be cash. I ain't in a pawn shop. I was like, damn, she didn't even say this bought you a week. She said, she was like, and so I'm all nervous because she told Rue, hey, I'm gonna get my money. I'll sell you to some people that are not very nice. And even in the conversation, she was like, well, the great thing about being a woman, Rue, is you always got something to sell.
She did say that. She did say that, Jay.
Dang. And she went through her own history, and you can tell she had enough sympathy to say that I can't get my money. I'm probably not gonna be able to get my money from you on your own if you're still in pain. And I'm not gonna be able to get a top price for you if you look like shit. So I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna help you get to that point where you get my money in some way or the other. And I think her doing the morphine thing was her to cross the Rubicon of now we're going to start injecting. So before it was the cutesy. When I say cutesy, I mean like it's easy to go. I'm gonna take these pills. I'm gonna snort this drug. I'm going to smoke whatever. But now you start injecting. You didn't leveled up as your crackhead status. like you've now evolved as a Pokemon. Crackamon. you have evolved. So that was all. And when she passed out, I didn't know if she was gonna wake up with some guy on top of her because I think she was dreaming about her dad again at this point, or taking a bath and like the safety of it. And I kept thinking she's gonna wake up with some guy on top of her. That woman's cold, calculating voice. But this is what I'm gonna say. At this point, I don't want anything bad to happen to Rue, but I would feel like this show would be disingenuous if she keeps skating, pretty much. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't want to see sexual assault. I don't want to, but the getting hit by the car thing would have been something. But she is going in these behaviors and getting away a little too clean, and I think that's right. I wonder if they're setting up for a car crash scene, because remember the first episode, or maybe they framed that seatbelt thing with Cassie and Nate, and then there's been so many things with cars, so I wonder if that's been just setting us up for something at the end. But something at this point, there's got to be consequences, and I don't know if it's actually going to be Rue that pays it, but it's going to be Rue's domino effect or starting off that cycle, I think.
Yeah, I really do feel like this was the first. I mean, it's been a ripple effect for sure. And the moment that Rue took those drugs from that woman, I mean, put all this into effect. But the things that are happening now in this episode, and the things and the destruction that Rue has caused, is going to lead to somebody getting killed. Like, and if it's not like the Cass and Maddie situation, or if it's like the Fez situation with this drug deal lady, or just Rue putting her friends and family in danger, because, like, honestly, Elliot, I mean, that woman could end up finding Elliot, right? Because Elliot, he looked like he was trying to just get out of the situation. He's like, you know what, I'm done with this. I could see that woman finding Elliot and be like, yo, who got my drugs and where's Rue? And it would take just a day and she would break him. And from that point, he'd probably give up Jules and everybody in between, depending on if his family's life was in danger or his life was in danger. And I'm just wondering, man, like, I don't know where this goes. And I am terrified. I don't think anything's going to happen to Rue, but I think that just like she doesn't care. Whenever somebody's like, from a story written standpoint, plots a character that doesn't care about their own livelihood, it's always going to be the people around them that are going to be the most affected. And I don't know if it's going to be Jules. I don't know if it's going to be her sister. I don't know if it's going to be Ali. But one of the three I'm predicting is going to take a really bad fade because of what Rue did. And yeah, I hate to say it, but I think that's the symmetry of this show. It's always a cause and effect at this point. My money actually is on Ali, but I don't want nothing to happen to that man. but I could easily see in a situation where Jules would be like trying to protect Rue in her own way. But I don't know, man. This show was dark, but this was one of the best episodes. I know we talked around all the severity of all the ramifications of all this, but bar none. I mean, from like you talk about the car crash sequences, like that was shot amazingly, and sometimes they were doing like one takes. There's a lot of movement that was going on, but the acting, I think, is probably the thing that is just top notch in this episode. Like they just went for it. Yeah, man. I don't know. What did you guys think about, I guess, this as an episode as a whole? Where do you guys rank this one, and why do you guys think this one was one of the better episodes, or the best episode, I should say, possibly?
I think this was a really good episode. Very, very good episode. It's just that so much happened. I thought I was ready. Like, I thought I was ready, and I wasn't. I still felt like something was going to happen to ruin this episode, but it almost did, but not quite. And so I'm just like, I just don't know where to go from here. There's just so many ramifications, like you said. And I did think it was interesting that she did have visions of her dad again, but also I thought it was interesting that in this episode, she has like a memory of when she first met her sister, which makes me think that was foreshadowing again what's may happen to her sister, or that the fact that she actually does love her.
Right.
But maybe they may focus on her at some point, which I hope they do, because she's been dealing with this her entire life too. They've had hints of it throughout season 1 and season 2, but I just hope she gets a little more time to shine and see the effects of it on a sibling, as well as, her parent, single mom. She doesn't have, like you said, she doesn't have that support, so she's not able to focus. She tries. I think this is going to be the most talked about episode so far this season. And how many episodes do we have left? We only got 3 episodes left after this?
Yeah, I think it's only 8 in the season, I believe.
So hopefully, I feel bad for her sister, and this happens in real life a lot. Like the child or the family member that has the major issue or major challenge, what we categorize as major. The child that's not causing that much issue gets kind of ignored, right? It's kind of, but even worse at this point, the mom is including her and almost leeching her childhood to try to save her other child. And it's an impossible situation. Can't really blame the mom, because you want to save your child. You want to save your child, and you only have so much energy. You almost have so much to give, and there's a real call or a real. When I've seen people try to get their loved one into rehab or into a shelter or into something like that, and it is heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking that we don't have enough resources, or people don't know how to get to those resources, and to be a single parent having to deal with that. That's a lot.
Right.
That's a lot. I thought that this is one of those you needed a weighted blanket. You need a weighted blanket to go through, and I think that everything that's been building up just kind of got paid off in this episode. Like, oh, you know what? The Cassie and Nate thing, boom. Oh, what Jules? Boom. Oh, I owe this money. Boom. I'm not going. We're not going to do a couple episodes or a season of her messing this money up. No, boom. That's just gone. Excuse me. Like everything exploded. Everything that had everything that was a ticking time bomb in this show. Every plot that was almost every plot that was a ticking time bomb just kind of went off. Mm-hmm. And even the Maddie Nick thing was affected by this. So yeah, this is great writing. This is how you pay off a lot of storylines. This is a climax. This is like, oh man, the tension can't get any higher. Now how are we going to survive until the next season?
Right.
how we're going to prosper? How do we survive into the next season? So
right.
Yeah, I think that was great.
Yeah, I was gonna say we got to talk about Jules, because again, we saw the beginning of the first episode, them kind of finally getting together. We've seen this spiral because Rue's been using this whole entire time. they haven't really actually been able to be together, and we don't know how much of Rue is with, you know, Jules, but it made it apparent from the conversation that, you know, that Rue had with Jules, how hurt she still is from what Jules did. And I, you know, like you said, like she is a smart girl. She can manipulate stuff and use it like weapons, like daggers. And, you know, I think that this was one of the first times, though, I felt like it was an even measure of trying to hurt Jules to push her away, but also to legit let her feelings out. Because I think that she had been holding it all in because she just was lost without Jules. But like, I don't know. What did you guys think about that conversation? Because I feel like it was real. Like it was a real, like real sentiments. I don't think that she, you know, never wants to see Jules again, but I think that there is a level of hatred there. I think there is a level of resentment there and so much pain. And the reality is Jules didn't see the warning signs. She didn't notice what was going on with Rue because she does suck a lot of the air out. And she wants what she needs and what she wants. And unfortunately that's not her fault, but she also, I mean, honestly, Jules needs help too. Like Jules is dealing with some stuff herself. But I was just curious y'all's perspective on that moment and I guess even what happened with Jules on the end of it, like how she probably felt.
I think part of it was that you just got me killed. I think part of it is like when Skylar gave Walter White's money to her boss or whatever, Walter was like, "What? Like you just got me killed or pimped out." So when I'm in some Eastern European country getting raped, like this because you didn't come to me, you went to my mom, and now these drugs are gone. And so I think part of it was that. And I think, again, she was, what is the most hurtful thing I can say to you right now? What is the most hurtful? You're an obstacle. What's the most hurtful thing I can say to you right now? Because it'll get you out the way. That's another piece off the board. And I can deal with this other thing. And I think that's another casualty. I think it's interesting that Jules wasn't ready or prepared because she left, right? Like, I get Elliot leaving. But how did you think in Europe? And again, I think this reminds us that even though you have yeah. That even though it's almost like the Dawson's Creek complex. You might have these kids talk about these concepts and speaking so well and these adult situations, but they're also kids. Jules is a kid. She's not much older than Rue's sister. You know what I mean? And she didn't know how to handle this. You know, she didn't know how to handle this and was prepared for how ugly this can get. And there was a line when the mom was like, "Oh, you're embarrassed because Jules here," because I think the mom was going to think that. And I bet you Rue was kind of embarrassed that you saw how ugly this can get.
Yep.
So
didn't she experience this already with her mom though?
Who?
Jules.
She went through it, but she was able to avoid it. You know what I mean? Like she saw her mom study decline, but she was able to kind of push it away. Just like even that episode, that in between episode, like when the mom kind of came back into her life, she was like, "I am not talking to that woman. I don't feel like dealing with it." Jules was in pain because of how the mom kind of wrecked her life, and that pain, you know, and judgment played a role in her own psychosis. And so I think in that episode, the in between episode, when the mom did come back, like she said some harsh things and pushed her mom away. So she did go through a little bit of that, but I think it's just very different because it's like being in her dad's shoes. You know what I'm saying? She never understood like what her dad was kind of going, like why her dad put up with all this. Now she has to, because I think that's why she kept on reiterating, "I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you." And bro, that acting between them two with that was a monster scene, bro. They were killing it.
Like the line that Rue pretty much was telling Jules, like, "You love to be loved."
Yep. That's
true. Oh,
it's true.
Yeah.
I was like, I kind of has a point. But
some people
that
don't feel convicted with that line.
But part of that is because of what she went through already. But then I was like reminded of Cassie and what she's going through. She wants to be loved. She loves to be loved. Like, and she misses her dad, and she's that, you know, the domino effect of her dad and everything. So, I was like, that could apply to pretty much everyone on that show. Everyone wants to be loved. Like, I mean, they're just going about it in different ways, in more destructive ways than, you know, than others. I think it was kind of like scene. Just the vitriol, just what she was telling her, just the and I understood because, yeah, like you said, at the end of the day, Jules did leave her. That decision definitely had this is the result of it.
Yeah. And while it's not Jules' responsibility for her drug use in that way, it hurt her.
Absolutely not.
And I think that you said a really good point, and I never really thought about it before. Every character in this show has a parent issue, right? Has a parent challenge in some way, whether it's abandonment or not feeling cared for, or being viewed as a monster, or whatever the thing is. And they're all trying to meet those core needs, and a lot of them are meeting in unhealthy ways. Like, who'd have thought we'd got to this point? And Maddie might be the you know, is probably the best functioning right now. I'm not saying it's all healthy, but it's the best, better functioning, or that. But even Fez is dealing with his own parent issues. Ash is dealing with his parent issues. Lex being a background character, kind of like Rue's sister is a background character in her family. You know, like all these things are connected. Or even I always forget his name, but who's the not the counselor? Who's Rue's support? Ali from the other side of the parent issue, where he abandoned his daughters, right? So we see these generational traumas happening and how they can affect that next generation. Yep. And in some cases, we're seeing 3 generations down the line, and Nate's family type of thing. So yeah, I think you brought up. I mean to talk so long, but Nat brought up a really good point I hadn't really considered before.
Yeah, no. I mean, shoot, if somebody took every single character and then kind of broke them down, it'd be an interesting character study. The only character that I can't really piece apart in my head, and I can't remember what she did in this, was Kat at Cassie and Maddie's house when everything blew up.
I think Kat was trying to hold Maddie back.
Yeah. And I think Maddie told her to shut up or something. Like something happened right?
Yeah, something along the. Well, I think she was trying to tell Cassie to shut up because she was making it worse. But Lexi went into observer mode, and it's like you could tell when she went into observer mode immediately when she sensed that something was about to pop off. So I'm like, let me get into observer mode. No, I think it goes beyond that though. I don't think it was to expose it, because I don't think even she would expose this, because I think she still cares for Rue. But the just her trying to process it, that part I think was, you could tell that's what she was doing the entire time that whole thing went down. And then of course she was like, oh, when Rue was like, yeah, you slept with Nate. I'm like, and then I think she was putting the pieces together regarding Fez, why Cassie would really rat Fez out, because otherwise I don't think she would have cared.
Right.
Even though I do think that was partly on Cass just being cognitively challenged. You know? Like
she well, I mean, I think the thing is with Cass is that she realized that all eyes were on her, and she didn't know how to handle it. Like, she didn't know how to process that. Like, she was like denial real quick. But the reason why I brought up Kat is because I don't know Kat's parental situation. I just know she has a self-loathing issue, but I don't know what her family dynamic issue is. I think that'd be a really interesting character study, because I don't know enough about Kat and why she is the way she actually is. But yeah, the reason why I kind of brought up the whole Jules thing, because I think you're right, Nat. Like, with Jules, in that comment that Rue made, it kind of like, it goes back to Jules legit has said to Rue something on the lines of like, "Oh yeah, I really love or like this girl that I just met, and she likes me back, but I love you too, Rue, and I want to be with you too." And I was like, "Dang, bro, that's a callback." What Rue said is a straight up callback, and it's evidence of it. And I think that even when that was happening, Rue was feeling all of it. It's just this whole entire season, she's been high the whole entire time. She's been drugged up. Like in season 1, she was kind of sober during that time. And I think it was hurting her emotionally. But yeah, bro. So much good writing in this show. Yeah.
I feel like this episode's gonna be talked about like for weeks to come.
Did y'all see that article that was talking about how like Dare had said something about this show is promoting drug use and did y'all see that?
Yeah, I did. I was like, huh?
I don't think they watched this show. I don't think they watched this show at all.
No, I don't think they watched the show at all. This is not glorified whatsoever. In fact, I think this is a great way to have that conversation with your kids if you decide to let them watch this show. I just think that it at least deserves a conversation. I don't think it glorifies it at all because you see the ramifications of what someone who is on drugs, what havoc they can wreak on a family and themselves.
Yeah, there's only one character that has been functional that's used drugs, and that is Elliot. Everybody else, even when
as far as we know,
the carnival.
As far as we know.
When Maddie and Cassie went to the carnival and they took some Molly, I believe, and Maddie had her whole outburst with Nate's family and got choked out, like all that drugs. Like most of the time when drugs are involved, things do not end very well in this show. And I mean, the show is
users.
Wasn't that on accident though that they took Molly?
No, they went to Fez because Fez was selling, remember? And then they like, well, I'm asking for this, and he gave it to them, and they were already upset because Cass was upset with Chris, and Maddie was done with Nate, and she just showed her tail off, and then that's when everything was the ripple effect that got to where they are. But I'm just saying that in terms of the show is very dramatified. Like, I mean, some of these cases could be like one of every school. Like one of these characters might be like, it's a rarity to have all these different people like dealing with these college level issues. But I mean, it does help to bring awareness and pinpoint certain things that I think would bode for really great conversation. I think it's just hard because it's not like a show that I would recommend to everybody, to be honest. Like some people that I know are maybe struggling with addiction, I would not, let them see the show necessarily because of the trauma behind it. And then also some of the younger people, like some people just really want to believe that this is the reality of it. And I think that that's the thing that Dare may be concerned about is that, some young people like, oh man, I want to get rich. I want to live it up. I want to have all these kind of drugs. And they like look at the show like, oh man, this show is awesome because of this. And they're not really seeing what this show is really showing from an adult perspective or really from a real perspective. So maybe that might be what they're saying, because I can believe that some kids are probably like, oh, well, man, this is normal, and it's not necessarily normal all the time. So that may be where they're going with it. But I definitely do say that the show showcases more of the worst case scenarios of drugs and what they do. And as the seasons go on, like how bad it can actually get. Because I feel like by the end of this season, man, we're going to see the worst of it. Or at least half of the worst of it anyway.
And even we take Elliot's put in a situation where his drug use let him be in the middle of this trauma that was going with Rue. And if you're dealing with people that are dealing with stuff that's illegal and money and guns and violence, those come with it. So how many rungs are you really away from negative consequences, right? Like how many things, and even, it's a trend on, I guess, TikTok or IG about, oh, I'm going to school in Euphoria, and the girl comes out in like a club dress or something like that, to the regular school clothes. And I think that you can look at this, oh, look, they're all dressed in expensive clothes, or they're dressed like, but they all I think if anything, this is like, you think these people that you put on a pedestal because they look this way or they have this money or they have whatever, you don't know what stuff they're dealing with as a consequence of that.
Yep.
And or the history of that family or things like that. You never know what kind of weight other people are carrying. You never do. And I'll butcher this saying, but it's kind of like if you could take 10 of the people and want to switch lives, like, nah, I'm good where I'm at. Because at least I know my trauma. At least I know my baggage. At least I know how to carry my load. I don't want. Would any of us switch places? Like Nate's family is pretty well off. Would any of us switch places in their family? Would any of us go to that family? Would any of us?
No, I don't want to be part of that family.
Right.
That family's toxic as hell.
Right. Maddie's the most popular girl in that school, right? Would anybody switch places with her right now to be no. You know, you got it just everybody's dealing with stuff. Everybody's dealing with stuff. Everybody has some kind of cross to bear.
That's facts. Oh, man, well, hey, we ended up on a strong note. So what do we rate this episode?
Out of what?
Out of 10.
Definitely like
I'm holding up my number.
I'm gonna give a 9.5 only because while I liked everything, I need Rue to have some real consequences, and that might happen later on in the.
I think that's I think I was 9.5 too, just because the anxiety that it gave me, but also because there wasn't really a real consequence. There wasn't nothing really happened to her. It almost did, super close, but not quite. And I just felt like something should have happened. Something should have happened.
She should have got arrested. She should have at least gotten arrested. Got to the house. Got hit by a car a couple times.
So this is what I would say to that. Not to rebuttal it. I think you guys are valid in your perspective because technically nothing did happen to her. But just like anybody that's dealing with, an addiction or a family member is dealing with an addiction, it's usually, the people around them that are hurt the most, right? The consequence is usually, because if you look at the warpath, like different things happen, but her mother is dealing with an impossible situation. Her sister is traumatized and has absolutely no idea how to deal with it. Like one of Rue's friends, who is a drug dealer now, technically is probably going to lose his life, possibly because of what Rue did and ramifications of it, and also like digging up some old wounds about what happened to his grandmother. Maddie, Kat, Cassie, Lexi, like there's a ripple effect, and the reality is, I think they really do care about Rue. I really do. I really do think they actually care, and I think that they probably may internally blame themselves, like, dang, I didn't do anything about this. Like, my friend was relapsed. Because even that scene where, Rue was like, somebody asked, like, you taking drugs again? And Rue was like, yeah. And they all were like, did you relapse? And like, no. I think they really do care, and I think that this is going to affect them. So it's like, nothing happened to Rue, but I think the consequence of that is everybody else was completely directly affected of it.
And I agree with that. Oh, sorry.
No. Go ahead.
No, I agree with that because like the drunk driver that hits the other car, the drunk driver, because they're so loose from the drugs, survives without a scratch on them while the other person gets killed. I completely get that. I think though in this episode there was a lot. You had a multi-police car chase. You had guns. You had just so much stuff happen. That I've said before. I feel bad for saying it. I really don't want to see any kind of sexual violence on screen. I don't want to see any little girl get beat up. I don't. But I also think that you keep putting her in these situations where people don't come out.
It's unrealistic that something that in this episode unrealistic that nothing didn't, at least like whether she broke her leg or whether she woke up to see somebody or a man over her and she didn't know what happened. Like you're
dog
right.
bite her face or something.
Right.
I feel like that takes me out.
black eye from falling from a second-story window. Just something. Just there were, like you said, it was. It felt like it was unrealistic. There was an unrealistic element to this episode because so much was happening, and
right, and
nothing happened to her.
You get this one episode. You get this one episode. If you keep putting her in situations and nothing like that, I think might be sending a kind of a weird message, right? She's, and again, I don't want I feel conflicted. I don't want anything to happen to her, but I also don't want to be taken out of the show. But you keep putting her in these dangerous situations, and nothing directly happens to her. And I get you right. There are consequences. There is collateral damage, but it's just.
It's just hard because
you get one.
They wrote her to be a character that wants to die. Like, she does not want to be on this earth. Like, and the reality is, like, what she did, like, it really is outside of the drug, that there were no drugs. Like, she feels all that pain, and it just pushes her more and more to what she wants. Like, if something did happen to her, I don't know that she would even care. And that's the thing. I think that's the reality of, like, say she did get a black eye, say something did happen to her, she would be like, man, I did this to myself. That sucks. Like, I sadly, but nothing about from the first moment we see Rue to even right now made me believe that anything that actually happens to her that she cares about. Anything outside of losing drugs, I don't feel like she cares about her safety or her physical well-being or anything like that. I mean, she had enough sense to get out of a situation like she did, but self-preservation is different than whether or not she cares about living, dying, or getting hurt or something happened to her. But I don't know, it's just hard, man. I agree. I completely agree with you guys because on one end, it's like, it's very unrealistic that nothing actually happened. And that's where it's like, man, this is a TV show. And then the other side of it is like, I feel like this is setting me up for something that's gonna happen. And then the other side of it is that if something did happen, would she even care? Or would she even just continue to move on like she's moving? And
as I'm saying this,
no, I think if something happened to maybe her mom and sister, probably maybe her sister more than anything.
Oh yeah. I'm talking about her. I'm talking about like.
Like to her, yeah, for sure.
Just her. Yeah.
And I've heard some miraculous stories in my line of work of people who've been abused drugs for years. They've had some, like, I knew a guy that got into like 10 different car accidents, really drunk, like if it was a Saiyan Scout or to blow up in his face, of his alcohol content. But and then one of the last times he got hit, like a car that was using some kind of illegal labor or whatever, like a truck. He hit the truck, but because they settled with him, so he had a bunch of settlement money, went to Isle Island, and that's what ended up killing him, was getting all his money. But he had survived all these because he kept, like, he had enough money to pretty much like use to death at this point when he got that settlement money. But he had hit this commercial vehicle, but the commercial vehicle was doing some like shady stuff to save money, and so they ended up just paying him a settlement, so they didn't want to go through all the courts or whatever. So he went on like a bender for like a year that he did not survive because he had this unlimited. So it's almost worse. It's almost worse when people get their like their disability check. If they're not, I should phrase this right. If you're dealing with addiction, and then you have a source of money that comes in, that initial source of money sometimes can lead to you being in a more dangerous situation than you would be if you didn't have if you didn't have access. Not to say those programs are bad or anything. I'm just saying, like, from an addiction point. So there are these crazy stories of people surviving, but that's like 1 in a million users go through these multiple things of something like that night, and I think that's what's taking me out of it. So so I don't know where the writers take this. Writer be taking this from personal experience. There was a night where I or somebody I know had gone through all this and it was crazy. Like, I can't believe they got away with that stuff. But the second time that happened, they got locked up for 10 years. Like, but
Facts. Man, well, we done gone an hour and 14 minutes. This may be our longest stream, possibly.
No, I think
this good for us.
Either episode 3 or 4 were just as long or slightly longer. But we don't have Jarrell here, so I feel like we probably would have gone.
We would have definitely gone.
We are missing someone.
Yeah, we are.
All right, full disclosure, I'm going to let Jarrell out my basement for the next episode. I just wanted to test the root theory.
Is that where he's
hiding? The one
at?
open window. I left one window unbarred and open. I don't know why he hasn't found it yet, but eventually, I'm pretty sure by next week, I'm gonna leave some hints. I'm gonna leave some Riddler clues to get prepared for Batman that help him find his way to the window, and he'll be here next week. I'm sure of it.
Oh my gosh. All right, y'all. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our breakdown and discussion after show for Euphoria season 2, episode 5. Y'all ain't seen nothing yet. We're gonna be back come episode 6. We may do a reaction for that. I don't know yet. But yeah, just wait. Just wait. We got a lot more coming. Bye, everybody.
Don't watch this alone.
Don't. Please don't.
Get somebody.
Riding on the top of